all human societies have feelings of love, obligation, attachment, commitment. We put a particular frame on that and we call it universal compassion, or we call it the sort of instinct behind humanitarianism. The degree to which this way of thinking about relations of obligation and attachment is something that we can challenge as a shared universal value and perhaps need to. So zakat, for example, the relationship that Muslims feel to other Muslims in terms of charity giving. Okay? This is an entirely legitimate way to fund and help other people, but maybe it's about helping other Muslims first. And somehow we would invalidate that by saying that the compassionate roots of universal values require you to be impartial about helping other people. But why do we assume that if you just help people who share an identity with you, or they're people like you, then somehow this is an illegitimate part of the philanthropic exercise? The most successful funding mechanisms there are diasporas. The circuit of money through diasporas. People helping people they're related to or are like them in other countries. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year that's sent through these diaspora networks. We assume that norms should be universal. We assume that they should be secular. We can argue about this in Q&A. But if we don't mind them being religiously anchored for some, but the legitimation of those norms can't be that they're Christian norms or that they're Muslim norms. They're secular norms, and we know that the aid and development industry is based around those secular norms. And also I'd argue they're categorical in that you can't trade away aspects of these norms. You can't say in some circumstances maybe they won't get the full norm. They'll get part of the norm, because that takes us back into a more explicit civilizational rhetoric. But I think this idea that norms must be universal, secular, and categorical is just a hangover from European empire. It's the Europeans, and the age we're living through is the decline of European ideological hegemony. It's just taken a long time. It's taken 50, 60 years after the end of the Second World War for this to begin to play itself out. The norms on which the League of Nations and the United Nations were based were constitutively universal and secular, and the agencies set up were legitimized by this idea that they worked on behalf of everybody in a neutral and impartial way. But is it so, then this is really, I suppose, one of my core questions, is it really so obvious that norms that aren't legitimated or operationalized in that way are illegitimate? Norms where you help other people like you? If you don't directly do harm to others, why is it a problem that you help people like you? That's how most societies function, helping people you're related to or people who are like you. That's why the diasporas are so successful. You don't need to make humanitarian appeals within the diaspora. There are various partial commitments to people based upon identity that generate funding within these diasporic networks.